She was just a waitress. Or so they thought, until three men made a cruel joke. What they didn't know was that the scar on her arm came from a battlefield. And when the entire diner stood up, they realized they had mocked something sacred. Elkhorn was the kind of town so small, if you blinked while driving through, you might miss it entirely. Just off Highway 89, where truckers paused before the sky turned fully blue, sat a roadside diner called Silver Dawn Diner, where the coffee stayed hot, the pancakes stayed soft, and everyone knew how to mind their own business. She worked there. Tessa Morgan, 37, quiet, precise, and for years, she always wore long sleeves, even in the suffocating heat of July. No one asked why. Elkhorn wasn't a town for asking. They just knew she never spilled a drop, never missed a ticket, and always remembered napkins for the kids. But today was different. Early in the morning, while resetting the pastry tray, a fresh batch of buttery muffins slipped. Hot batter spilled down her arm. Not bad enough for the ER, but bad enough that her usual flannel shirt was ruined. And she had no backup. So, for the first time in years, Tessa stepped out in a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up, exposing the scar that ran the length of her right arm, from wrist to nearly shoulder, raised, ridged, and raw like a memory turned into skin. The diner froze. No gasps, no stares, but you could feel it. I stopped there. Tessa kept walking, head down, coffee pot in hand. Her pace didn't falter, but if you looked close, you'd see her swallow hard, like she was pushing something back down, a memory, maybe, a fire. Some whispered, maybe a kitchen accident, maybe a crash. But they didn't know that 12 years ago, in Kandahar, Afghanistan, she had pulled a pilot from a downed Black Hawk engulfed in flames and brought those scars home from war. No one knew. No one asked. And Tessa never told. Until that day, when three men walked in, loud, dusty, joking about things they didn't understand. And that's when the town's silence began to shift forever. They walked in at 8:17 a.m. Three men, loud from the moment the door swung open, sweat bleeding through their reflective vests, boots covered in tar dust, and that kind of too loud laughter, like the world owed them attention. They were the road crew working on the Northern Bridge. Temporary, disruptive, and like most things temporary, careless. They took booth 9. By the window, near the counter, Tessa approached, coffee pot in her right hand, the same arm, now exposed beneath the rolled white sleeve, bearing the jagged scar. He saw it first, the tall one with the scruffy beard. He snorted and smirked. "Watch out, boys. Looks like the waitress got into a fight with a toaster." Laughter erupted from their booth. Another chimed in. Or maybe she lost a duel with the deep fryer. Damn, that's a story waiting for a punchline. At the next table, an elderly woman named Judith turned around. Her brows furrowed, but she said nothing. Tessa didn't flinch. She poured each cup without a tremble. No eye contact, just a quiet inhale, the kind you take when you're swallowing fire, not coffee. She walked away, silent, like nothing was said. But the diner heard. The diner felt. Silence fell like a weighted blanket. Tom's crossword pen froze midair. The girl behind the counter watched Tessa retreat with eyes full of something unspoken. Glances exchanged across tables. Not words, but disapproval. The next day, they returned. And the words were sharper. Maybe she should try a parka. I've got weak eyes, and that scar's pretty loud. Or maybe someone played hero and didn't get the medal. That one did it. Everything paused. Tessa stood upright. No longer pouring. Just still. Staring quietly toward the entrance. And there, Samuel Vega walked in. Slowly. Deliberately. But with eyes like steel. No one knew it yet. But in a few seconds, the silence would become something else. The door closed behind him. Samuel Vega, 74, posture sharp as a bayonet. A former paratrooper, his skin weathered by sun and war, and his eyes that had seen too much to ignore injustice when it sat right in front of him. He didn't glance at the menu. He didn't nod at anyone. His eyes went straight to Tessa, still frozen beside booth 9. She didn't turn, but her shoulders stiffened. She knew he'd heard, and somehow, that made her hand tremble, just a little. Samuel walked toward them. The three men, still chewing runny eggs, didn't know what was coming. He stopped by their table, didn't speak right away. No one in the diner moved. "You don't know who you're mocking," Samuel said. His voice low, measured, but everyone heard it. "She was a combat medic. Kandahar. 2011. I know that scar. I've seen her hold pressure on a soldier's chest while a helicopter exploded behind her. A man at the next table, another veteran, set down his fork. He didn't say anything, but he stood. Then an old woman, then a young waitress, then Tom in the corner. No one said a word, but they all stood. Tessa didn't move, as if time had frozen her in place. While you were safe at home, eating breakfast, Samuel continued. She was holding a man's hand, trying to keep him alive long enough for help to arrive. She didn't ask for medals. She didn't ask for applause. Just peace. And you thought a cheap joke was worth taking that from her? No one answered. One of the men, the youngest, flushed red, his eyes darting, searching for an exit. Tessa blinked, for the first time in minutes, but no tears fell. She didn't need to speak, because the room had already spoken for her. No one said it aloud. But after that day, Elkhorn began to change. Not with banners or speeches, but in small, quiet acts, the kind that meant everything. The sign outside the bakery near the church read, "The server at Silver Dawn is a hero you never knew." A handwritten note taped to the library door said, "We learn history from books, but real courage pours us coffee every morning." Tessa stayed the same. Still brewed coffee. Still wiped tables. Still spoke more with her eyes than her mouth. But now, people lingered a little longer to say thank you. They didn't need the full story. They just knew. The scar didn't need to be hidden anymore. One afternoon, while Tessa was wiping down the counter, a little girl from the neighborhood ran in. Braided hair, a folded paper in hand. "Miss Tessa, can I get your autograph? We're collecting names of people who inspire us." Tessa paused, surprised. Then she smiled, truly smiled, the kind that felt like sunlight sneaking through an old cafe window. "Are you sure? I'm not anyone special. You're kind. You're brave. You're like someone in the story Miss Harper told us." Tessa signed. With her right hand, the one with the scar. The girl clutched the paper and ran off, gleeful. From that day on, a few neighborhood kids began gathering near the diner in the evenings. No invitation. No reason. They just came. Tessa didn't turn them away. After locking the front, she opened the back door, pulled out a weathered stool, and sat with them beneath the soft orange skies. She didn't lecture, but when she spoke, her words fell quiet and deep. Scars don't make you weak. They remind you how strong you had to be to survive. Never underestimate the quiet ones. Sometimes, they've fought more than you'll ever know. She didn't teach morals from a book. She spoke with eyes that had seen things children shouldn't, and a heart that had learned to forgive a world that hadn't always been kind. She spoke of goodness, of compassion, of staying upright even when the world pushes you down. The children listened, not because they were curious, but because she was real. The letter arrived on a quiet Monday morning. No sender listed, just a postmark from Bangor, Maine, and one handwritten line on the envelope. "To the one who saved me and never asked to be thanked." Tessa opened it while restocking the pastry shelf. Inside was a single sheet of worn paper, yellowing at the edges, the handwriting shaky, from someone clearly still healing from something large. "My name is Brian Coulter. I was the pilot of the Black Hawk that went down in Kandahar in 2011. I never knew your name. I just remember calm eyes and a hand holding my wound shut when I couldn't feel anything from the waist down. I lived because of you. It took me nearly a decade to learn how to walk again, to sleep without waking up to the sound of metal or smoke. But I never forgot you." I asked around, and through an old friend who passed through Elkhorn, I found out you were still there, quiet, unnoticed. Thank you for existing, for not letting me go. Tessa folded the letter, slipped it into her apron. She said nothing, but she stood still by the coffee machine for a while, as if pouring memory back into her heart instead of a mug. That afternoon, the diner emptied earlier than usual. No rain, just the soft kind of light that stains sidewalks purple and gold. Tessa wiped the counter, turned the sign to closed, switched off the lights. But she didn't leave right away. She stepped outside the diner, arms folded gently, eyes lifting toward the evening sky. No one called her name. No one clapped. No monuments were built. There was only still wind, the chime of metal dancing lightly, and a woman in a faded apron gazing out toward the horizon. She didn't speak, but her eyes said it all. I walked through fire. I carry the scars, and I'm still walking forward. No titles, no legacy etched in bronze, just the quiet knowing that she had lived right.